Did hip-hop's shrewdest mogul just spot a century-old loophole that could buy him freedom before the ink on his conviction is even dry? 3 months after the verdict was dropped, Sean Diddy, Combs is locked inside Brooklyn's notorious MDC. Yet his legal team now dangles a $50 million bond, a velvet rope house arrest, and an argument rooted in a dusty 1910 morality law. One signature from Judge Subramanian could flip the entire case. Ready to see how? Stick around. The twist at the end might leave you questioning who the real power players are. Welcome back to the Criminal Minds. The April 9th, 2025 jury decision felt like a roller coaster corkscrew. The government had painted Diddy as a criminal architect of a coast-spanning underground empire. Racketeering, money laundering, and lurid allegations of trafficking young women through an entourage of fixers. Yet when the 12 jurors finally filed back in, 2/3 of the indictment fell away in seconds. They tossed the racketeering count. They shrugged off the trafficking ring allegations, buying the defense's claim that no one had been procured or profited from in the classic sense. Still, 2 stubborn charges stuck. Violations of the Mann Act, the 115-year-old federal statute that criminalizes transporting anyone across state lines for immoral purposes. The split decision confused nearly everyone watching. Commentators hailed it as a partial victory. Social feeds churned out memes of Diddy in a half-broken pair of handcuffs. Yet celebration halted once the judge denied immediate bail. Prosecutors insisted their target remain a high-level orchestrator who could still influence witnesses or vanish on a private jet. The defense ceded. You cannot call him a mastermind after a jury literally cleared conspiracy. And so the bad boy boss stayed caged. But if the worst accusations are gone, why is the cell door still locked? That unease sets the stage for the gambit you're about to see. Next up, the hidden reasons the court refuses to hand over a set of keys. Bail hearings rarely make national headlines, unless your name sells platinum records. Twice last spring, Combs' attorneys pleaded for release pending sentencing. Twice the bench said no. The government cited 3 pillars. Risk of intimidation. Prosecutors claimed recorded jailhouse calls showed Diddy guiding supporters on how to coach a reluctant witness. The defense pointed out that the call logs were snippets, short on context, heavy on suspicion, access to vast resources, a global bank account, a private jet on standby, and industry allies in every time zone. If he wants to disappear, the U.S. attorney warned he can. Potential for retaliation. An incident outside a Miami lounge, never formally charged, still lingers in the bail memo, painting him as a man who solves disputes with muscle. Combs is cam counterpunched. No disciplinary write-ups behind bars. Spotless record on every previous bail, and a public persona too large to hide. Yet each time, the gavel came down hard. For the judge, mere possibility of obstruction outweighed the presumption of freedom. But here's the wrinkle. The counts he actually faces now carry far lighter penalties. Think months, not decades. Holding a defendant on low-tier offenses inside a facility plagued by mold, intermittent lockdowns, and medical delays? The optics grow shaky. Which brings us to a law older than aviator flight, and an argument that could melt those bars. Because the past is a funny way of detonating in the present. Signed in 1910, the White Slave Traffic Act, better known today as the Mann Act, was supposed to crack down on forced prostitution across state lines. In reality, it quickly morphed into a cultural cudgel, wielded against anyone whose bedroom habits scandalized polite society. Jack Johnson, Chuck Berry, Charlie Chaplin, each learned how flexible moral purpose could be when the feds wanted a headline. Fast forward to 2025. Prosecutors say Combs paid for first-class flights and luxury suites, where consenting partners were encouraged to join his entourage's after-hour scene. Defense lawyers scoff. At worst, he's a customer, not a profiteer. But the archaic language sticks. Because you don't have to run a brothel to violate the act. Just facilitate travel in a way a jury deems sleazy. That antiquity now powers Diddy's fresh motion. His team argues the law's moralistic roots make it uniquely prone to overpunishment. If modern courts mainly deploy the Mann Act against full-blown trafficking rings, why should a celebrity face the same pre-sentencing lockup as a cartel boss? The answer, they suggest, lies in a rarely used clause called exceptional reasons. Let's open that playbook. Federal Rule 18 U.S.C. Section 3145C is the Hail Mary seldom taught in law school. It lets a judge free a convicted defendant before sentencing if exceptional reasons prove detention unnecessary. Combs' attorneys list 3. Lifestyle isn't a violent enterprise. A jury erased the trafficking conspiracy, paying for flights to private parties. They argue lands closer to vice than violence. MDC's reputation is unusually harsh. Think overcrowding, 23-hour lockdowns, and a July 2025 report on inmates waiting 10 days for antibiotics. They claim continued confinement risks both mental health and physical safety. Comparable defendants walk free. White-collar offenders convicted of bigger dollar amounts. Remember Sam Bankman-Fried's crypto collapse? Waited at home. Why not the same standard here? The motion attaches physician letters on Combs' hypertension, affidavits from jail chaplains praising his calm presence, and a tidy chart comparing sentences in recent Mann Act cases, median 26 months. Persuasive? Possibly. But federal judges don't release household names on sympathy alone. They want layers of insurance, financial, technological, and reputational. So the defense unveils a bond package so lavish it reads like an architectural digest feature. Is $50 million enough to tame a judge's doubts? Picture it. A waterfront Miami compound, palm trees swaying over motion-sensor gates. Inside, every doorway is wired with facial recognition cameras, feeding a Marshal Service server. Outside, private security paid by Combs, but hired from a firm pre-approved by the court. The proposal promises $50 million secured by real estate, liquid assets, and 3 billionaire friends willing to forfeit their own fortunes if he bolts to passport surrender before release. DOJ can disable his jet's transponder. 24/7 GPS ankle monitor with tamper alarm that pings in under 5 seconds. Twice weekly mental health check-ins. A nod to the judge's concern over stress and possible self-harm. No internet contact with listed witnesses. Jail calls already flagged ought be blocked. For precedent, the motion drops names: Martha Stewart, house arrest pre-sentencing; Bernard Madoff, luxury penthouse detention. Even FTX's Bankman-Fried, they note, got months of home confinement before bail was finally revoked. How? The defense asks, is a 60-millionaire rapper a greater flight risk than a crypto king accused of swiping billions? Prosecutors return fire. They claim Combs once used burner phones to dodge paparazzi, proof, they say, he can vanish offline. They reference a scuffle last year outside Alive Miami, where a reveler ended up with a broken jaw. Character matters. Their brief warns. And model inmate or not, a mogul who built an empire off bold moves might just stage one more. Which argument bends a gavel? We head into the pressure chamber. Inside Brooklyn's Eastern District Courthouse, assistant U.S. attorneys frame Diddy as a puppet master cloaked in charm. They paint a picture of whispered messages through third parties' quiet payoffs, and a global fan base ready to vilify any cooperating witness. Publicity is power, they argue. He can weaponize it faster than we can redact a filing. Their memo lists: witness intimidation risk. One complainant received cryptic text that read, "Watch who you trust." IP traces remain fuzzy, but prosecutors wave the flag anyway. Wealth equals escape. Offshore accounts don't shut down overnight. Unresolved threads. The Miami lounge altercation suggests propensity for violence, even without formal charges. Defense lawyers push back. The witness text came from an untraceable number and were never linked to Combs. The Miami incident? A nightclub show blown into folklore. They highlight his donations to prison reform nonprofits, portray him as an unlikely fugitive who spent 30 years under spotlights brighter than any ankle beacon could provide. Former prosecutors split on cable panels. Some predict the judge will keep him inside simply to avoid the optics of special treatment. Others note that appellate courts routinely slap down excessive pre-sentence detention for nonviolent counts. Tick-tock. The calendar inches toward the crucial hearing date. October 3rd, 2025 looms. Without bail, Combs will step from jail transport straight into a sentencing suit. With bail, he'll walk into court from his mansion, Ankle monitor blinking under tailored trousers. Outcomes twist three ways. Bail granted. Home until sentencing. He stays on a tight leash, records new music from a basement studio, and floods social feeds with positivity, likely bolstering public sympathy ahead of the judge's final choice. Compromise. Halfway house. Some defendants land in federally supervised borough facilities, stricter than home arrest, looser than jail. Motion denied. No sunlight until the sentence. Every interview and statement funnels through lawyers. As for punishment, guidelines suggest 24 to 60 months. Time served knocks off 6. Good time credit could trim another chunk. Conceivably, Diddy could be performing at Coachella 2028. Or, if the judge maxes out consecutive terms, he won't see a stage until the next decade. Meanwhile, brand hover in limbo. Liquor deals freeze. Revolt TV's board debates a name change. Hip-hop argues whether the system targets black entrepreneurs or if money finally met accountability. The next move, signed in blue ink, decides which narrative sticks. So here we stand, a 1910 morality statute colliding with 2025 celebrity culture. $50 million in collateral stacked against the prosecutor's faith in iron bars. If the judge greenlights the plan, Diddy's palatial bedroom becomes the most luxurious cell in America. If she slams it shut, the echoes of MDC's concrete will be the only beats he hears until autumn. Now it's your verdict. Does exceptional reasons plea make perfect sense, or is this just another case of money tilting the scales? Drop your take below, because the comment section is the real courtroom, and hip-hop history just took the witness stand. And don't forget to subscribe.